Okay, I want to put this in the best perspective, in the most communicative perspective as possible. So, being an athlete, I really want to touch up on because to give some perspective and some context, I came from a performing arts background, especially in middle school, high school, but in middle school, I started hooping at the YMCA at like right next to my middle school. And every morning before I went to school, I wanted to go to the court. I don't know why, but there would be my friends there in the morning that would shoot around with me, and we would talk basketball. We would talk strat, like and dribble, and we would also talk about like the middle school itself and like how we felt that day, very very subtly, because middle schoolers are not going to talk about their day and how things are going to be moving, and we're not very conscious at that time, of course. But I was always aware of that. I was always aware of that way of being, especially in middle school. And I think a lot of athletes feel this way too. A lot of athletes that don't treat themselves as athletes. Now, in high school, I did performing arts all the way. I sort of watched what I was eating. I was always conscious that I didn't want to be eating Fruity Pebbles anymore, but at the same time, I still had my splurges, especially with whatever karma that I was going through with women, with my sexuality, with money, and with understanding money. Also understanding where am I going to be after high school, and seeing myself as a human that has way more experience to be lived. Being a kid, this is not something that we think about very often, but this was something that was numbed, that I numbed myself because I was searching for super highs. I wasn't into drugs at the time. I only got introduced to marijuana at my first year of college, which I'm really grateful for. I'm actually very fortunate the way I was introduced to it and at the time that I was introduced to it, because it has helped me so much. But I have also gone through my things with marijuana. I've gone through what I've needed to go through. Now, in high school, it was simply performing arts. I wasn't hooping crazy, but sometimes I would go on the weekend, and sometimes my friends would invite me, and sometimes we would even have like a little a raggedy ass, hoop in the for like not recess, but like for lunchtime, and I would go hoop sometimes, and it was fun. It was exhilarating. It was something that I think my body was really wanting to pursue, and my mind and my heart and my body, my spirit wanted to pursue this expression. And I knew that ever since high school, ever since middle school as well. Now, as soon as I left high school, I had my first year of college, you see. This is the year that I knew I needed to structure myself somehow. I was introduced to marijuana, which was helpful, but not very much practically. Now I would work out. I would have my own workouts instead of be with like the basketball team. I was never a part of the team. I was never a part of any of that. But I would go to their court and I would go play, not with them, but with the other kids that would go. I wouldn't say kids because they look like fucking adults, but all the young adults from college and all my friends, they went to go hoop in the same court that they would hoop in. They had like two separate courts, and this was expression. This was pure expression. I didn't have any structure. I didn't even know what training was, like training for basketball. I was not clueless though, but it wasn't a part of my life. I wasn't practically practicing these things. I could tell that even the motion of putting my hand, like the motion with the ball and understanding my relationship with the ball was very powerful. This was the only thing that kept me in the sport, was my communication with the ball, my relationship with the ball, which is, of course, it's like a kind of a reflection for my own energy with the ball. You can only imagine how powerful it was. But I left my first year of college and I came back. As soon as I came back, I started working at a country club, and I was like a daycare helper, or like a youth attendant, you can call them. And I worked that job for like a year and a half, on and off for like 2 years and a half, 3 years. And every time after work or every time before work or every time during work, I would go down to the court and I would practice, and I would like, there were so many things I was learning from online, and like all of my handles I was learning. I was learning handles from Steph, handles from Kyrie, even handles from J. Lou, which is, I really look up to Jordan Lewis, because man, who he was as a player was so reflective off of who I am. He has his own gifts and powers and weaknesses, but I resonated so much with his weaknesses and also his strengths. And I could kind of play off of his and understand my own. So this is where handling came in. This is where the relationship with the ball, the ground, my body, my body, toes to head, really being specific in every body part when shooting a ball or when going off a dribble and shooting. It's just the energy exchange with the entire body, and I need to be conscious, especially during workouts. And that solidifies how I will be in game mode. So I would run some games every now and then, and those games felt so good. I was very equivalent to the strength of all the other players that were around my age. I would say like 18 to 24 is the people that I would play with. I wouldn't play with people with much manpower, like grown manpower. But I played with all these kids that were very similar to me in not my play style, but my strength. I was always a skinnier kid. Maybe not skinny, but like almost skinny fat. And this is where I started to identify myself as a player, as an athlete. So for some reason, I felt very focused, very concentrated in my core, because my core, I learned at that time, it is the ultimate engine for life force, and a bit more practically for strength in the entire body. In order to feel my ankles, I need to be conscious of my core, which is, I mean, you could ask a bunch of sports athletes or sports therapists, body therapists, physical therapists, and they'll probably say different. They'll say your ankle has your own engine, and your ankles are moving, cohesively with your knees and a little bit of your hips, but especially not your core. But I think the core, if connected with the entire body, is going to push me forward 5 times more than I would if I were just to push forward with the ligaments that I have. A strong core is movement for all. So this is where I became very in touch with that. And then I started seeing myself and playing other people, seeing myself as a player who can actually play, who's actually able to show up because I practice so much, because I'm so conscious of my core, especially in practices. I'm very vigilant and very conscious of my body, and especially the energy coming up from the ground up into my legs, into my feet, into my knees, into my hips, into my core, and then up here on the top part of my body. And even now, I still feel it here on the top of my body, moving through from the ground. It's just a energy transfer. The best athletes in the world, the most talented athletes in the world, maybe not the best, but the most talented, it's because of their ability to transfer energy and their relationship with this energy over and over and over. And where do you think they get this energy from? I mean, nobody's performing from a fucking harness, up in the clouds. Sports are a ground up kind of thing, with basketball, with soccer, with football, with ping pong, with tennis, with the list goes on and on. Overall, it was very exciting. It was very exciting to get on the court, get off the court, who I was off the court, how I worked out off the court, how I exercised my body off the court, how I prepared my body off the court, how I also prepared myself before games in order to enter flow easier. It's just all things that I kind of just I learned so quickly from 19 to now being 21, about to turn 22. It's kind of surreal how time is moving the way it's moving right now. But to kind of solidify this video overall in athletics and in my life as an athlete, it's just very simple. It's much much more simple than you think. I don't believe that you are racing against your other competitors that are racing. And I don't believe that one competitor being super fucking strong is going to beat you because you're a little bit weaker. You don't have as much strength as they do. Practical strength. I'm talking human strength. How much muscle mass they have. I don't think that matters at all. I also don't think that you should underestimate the skinny kid right next to you that has a little bit less muscle than you. You shouldn't underestimate that, because the only thing you should be concentrated in is yourself. Especially in basketball. I think a lot of hoopers, especially nowadays, they're very concentrated and very focused on other people and trying to get through other people, trying to get through their defense. I just don't think that's right. I think a much better way to go about, coming up with the ball from full court, coming up with the ball and their defense prepping themselves. I don't think I should be focusing on defense. You know what I should be focusing on? The observance. I should be playing from up here. I shouldn't be playing from right here and just seeing for everything for what it is. I should be playing with the observance over here that only can be activated if I prep my body, if I prep my mind and body. I also think a pre-game warm-up and pre-game routine is so crucial to how you perform, man. It's so crucial, especially with people that aren't even pro and playing in like men's leagues. I think it's most important even in men's leagues, because you don't have a warm-up time. You pull up when the game time starts. If the game starts at 8, people are going to be pulling up like at 7:45, 7:50 to come and play that game and just start the game. And first play of the game, like, you get a corner shot, you miss, because that's the fucking first shot you've ever shot all day. And you didn't even prep yourself. You just walked in and played the game, which is cool, and it happens sometimes for some people. But man, I think it's the routine, it's the pregame as well. It's the prepping yourself, understanding your communication with your body at that moment. Tomorrow I have a game. Tomorrow I have a game at 8:40 at night, in the evening, and I'm gonna get there at 6:30. I'm gonna get there at 6:30 so I could warm my body up. I could also live in that court for all night. I'll be there all night. Because if I want to show up for the game, I'm going to show up 110%. And that's my 110%. I'm going to show up at 6:30. I'm going to show up for my body. And there's so many gurus online in the digital, in social media in general, of so many really great athletes and really great teachers also of the game of basketball or any sport that you're in. And you can get lost in it. And I'm honestly starting to sound like them. I'm starting to sound like, yo, you gotta fucking have your fucking pregame routine. You have to do this. You have to do that. But now, all I'm trying to do is to conclude. What I'm trying to say today is that what's really, really important right now is you understanding your circumstance. Where do you come from? And how can you show up right now to make yourself just a little bit better than from where you come from? You don't have to do nothing crazy. I'll show up at 6:30. That's my challenge. But what happens at 6:30, I'm gonna let it just happen to me. I don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't have to push anything. The only thing I'm pushing is to be there at 6:30, and that better happen. But if you can have control over one little small thing, that's it. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. And if you're starting to worry about other players and your defenders and maybe even your companions and your teammates, man, you're losing. Don't do that. And just don't do that. Yeah, hopefully that concludes the rest of this video. I really wanted to touch up upon being an athlete, being athletic, having a mindset of an athlete, without being way too guru about it, because there's so many out there that have already taken that job, and I'm happy for them to take it because they are just blabbing all the shit that everybody needs to hear, I guess. But if you could take one thing away, it'd be to understand your circumstances and to move forward the way you want to, and keep showing up for the game. The game will always be there, and you're so fortunate to be playing it, no matter what. If you're a pro, if you're in the NBA, if you're in a men's league, or if you're playing a fucking little league, it doesn't matter. You're hooping, you're playing, you're expressing. But yeah.